Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Courage to Become podcast. This is a space where we untangle the fears that keep us small and we learn to see them as the very keys to our own inner freedom. That's what I'm going to teach you. I'm your host, Joe Peck, and in today's episode, we're going to dive into a wound that so many of us carry, especially those of us that are drawn to healing, or to coaching or to any kind of visibility work. And this is the fear of being seen. So, first, I want to talk about what this fear might feel like. Maybe it's a little bit of tightening in your chest before you hit publish on a post, or maybe it's the way that you shrink your voice in group settings, or the way that you hesitate to share your own truth. And that can sound like, who am I to say this? Who am I to do that? It looks like hiding behind perfection, people pleasing, and procrastination. But underneath all of that, it's not surface level visibility. It's a deep wound. If I let them see me, they might not like what they find. So I want to talk today about this very subject because I think a lot of us, if we're not currently going through it, have probably been through it at one time in our lives. And so I want to talk about it from the energetic perspective because it's part of who we are. And if you've felt it, it's part of who you are. And it's very likely part of every single one of us in some way, shape, or form. So I want to pull this fear through your own energetic blueprint. And so I want to talk about the few places that it might live so that you can connect the dots for your life to see if it makes sense for you, if there's a way in which you may see through the purpose of this in a different way than you've always seen. A way that you might be able to change your perspective. So in human design, this fear can come from so many different places. A few of them that come off just the top of my head, the undefined G center. So that's the center right in the center of your chart. And if you look at my chart, mine is yellow. It's right in the center of the chart. If this is not defined, so if this is white for you, you may question your identity and feel like you have to try on different versions of yourself. And this happens oftentimes from childhood. So it becomes who we are, and it really leads to hiding who we truly are. So by the time we get to be an adult, we don't really know the truth of who we are. And that's kind of how a lot of us get here. We're wondering, who are we and how do I find myself? That's how I found this system. That's how I got here. That's why I love what I do, because it explains so much. Another area of your chart that this fear can live in is gate 10. This is the gate of self-love. And when this is in shadow form, this gate expresses fear of rejection or not being worthy unless everything is perfectly aligned. And so a lot of times you might find that you're striving for perfection because you don't feel worthy unless everything is aligned. And unless you sit and reflect on things that happen in your life that bring up these different feelings, it may be difficult to pull this out of thin air. But when we start doing this work and we start running into the fears that we see in everyday life, that's when we can compare that to the gates in human design and what your energy is set up for, to show you that this is part of your lesson. The reason this is happening is to teach you a lesson. There is a point to it. And that's why I love this work. Like I said, it gives you the details. All right. The next gate that this fear may show up in your chart is gate 57. Oh, sorry, gate 10 is in your heart center, in that center in the middle. You can have this gate 10 defined, or you can have it open. If it's defined, it's going to be colored either, the line off of it will be colored either red or black. If it's open, that will be white. And I just want to reiterate that we all have all of the chart. It just depends on how we feel it, on whether or not it's defined. So we all have this gate 10, this gate of self-love, and we can all see the shadow form of it, whether it's a defined or an undefined energy for us. Same with the next gate, gate 57. This is the fear of the future. Gate 57 comes off of the spleen center. That is this center on my chart. It's brown and it's down in the lower left-hand corner, or if I'm facing the computer, it's on the right side. But when I'm looking at it, it's the left-hand side. And gate 57 is this top one that goes up and actually connects to gate 10. So you can see in my chart, gate 57 has the black line, and then it dips off, and the red line goes over to the 10. And again, doesn't matter if it's defined or undefined for you, you still have this energy. The way this plays out will be differently depending on whether you are defined or undefined. So gate 57, as I said, is the fear of the future. This is an intuitive gate. This is, you just know things, but when you are in fear, it can lead to hesitation about showing up without all the answers. So what happens is you have this fear that you're not going to know enough, or that you're going to be rejected because you don't know enough. And it's going to cause you to hesitate. And when you hesitate, you miss out on those opportunities. Now, again, this is in both the defined and the undefined chart. It just depends on how it's going to show up for you. I know it will show up for me because I have it defined. When you have it defined, this is how you have consistent access to this energy. So you're consistently going to feel it. If I'm consistently feeling it in the shadow, I'm going to feel this. When you are open, you're going to feel it when you're around people who feel it, or when sometimes the planets, the way that they align in the universe, it lights up that energy for everybody. So everyone's going to feel this, but I know that I'm consistently going to feel it if I stay stuck in my shadow side because I have it defined. Any projectors or reflectors are also going to feel deeply vulnerable when they're visible due to their openness and other people's energy. So what happens is you take in the energy because you have so many open centers. You take in the energy of the people around you. And depending on who it is around you and how they're feeling, it's very possible that you're going to take on that energy and you're going to amplify that. It's going to make you feel very vulnerable, and you're not going to like to be the person in front of the room giving a speech or doing anything like that. You're going to have that fear as a projector or a reflector. It's something you need to learn because it's part of your soul purpose. So just keep that in mind. Don't let that fear stop you, because it's the fear that you want to push through to learn the lesson to get beyond it. Within astrology, these fears can come from having Chiron in Leo, or possibly in the fifth house. So any wound around self-expression or not feeling worthy of the spotlight can 100% come from that Chiron in Leo. Leo is that fiery soul, but every once in a while, when Leo's not feeling it, they don't like to step out of their shell and express that. All right, I'm not as experienced in astrology, but I'm going to give you a couple of areas where you can look in your chart to see if this fear is going to come up for you even stronger. Look at where Chiron is in your chart. If it's in Leo or in the fifth house, there may be a wound around self-expression or not feeling worthy of the spotlight. Now, I don't have my chart in front of me, but you can get your chart at astroseek.com, and it'll print it all out for you, and it'll tell you where everything is, and it'll show you the houses. And so you want to look for Chiron and see if it's in Leo, and you want to look at your fifth house and see if Chiron is in your fifth house. You can also look at Saturn, and is Saturn in the first house or the 10th house? This could cause a restriction around identity and public image. You can also look to see if Sun is square Pluto. When Sun is square Pluto, you may see the fear of being seen in your full power. And down at the bottom of your chart, if you get it on AstroSeek, it'll give you all of the symbols for all of the positions of the planets so that you can see whether or not your Sun is square Pluto. Gene Keys kind of goes right along with human design. And so we talked in human design about gate 10. And the gate 10 in Gene Keys shows the shadow as self-obsession and the gift as naturalness. So anybody who has gate 10 defined, the journey of self-love, which is what gate 10 is the portal to your magnetic authenticity. It's part of your purpose. It's part of your journey. And when you get to the gift side, when you push through your fears of self-obsession, worrying about what everyone else is going to think about you, when you can push through that, you get to the gift of naturalness. And when you get to the gift of naturalness, it feels more natural for you. You don't worry about what other people think. You don't worry about anything outside of you. You're confident enough in yourself when you've healed this wound that you can just be you. And that's the gift of naturalness. And that's what Gene Keys brings us. Gene Keys is also looking at gate 48. Gate 48 is the shadow of inadequacy. That's feeling as if you're inadequate. And the gift is resourcefulness. So if you have gate 48 defined in your chart, then you're probably going to consistently feel unprepared or not good enough. And that could hold you back if you're in the shadow side of this energy. If you are open at this gate, you could take that energy on from other people, and it can cause you to feel as though you are not prepared or not good enough, and it can hold you back. So pay attention to how you feel when you're around and with other people, because it makes a big difference. So a lot of times with this fear, you can feel it when you have ideas, but you wait for the perfect timing, and then that perfect timing never comes. Or maybe you keep your offers hidden, or you over explain until you feel safe. Now, for me, I have the channel 2343, which is breaking down big ideas into smaller bite-sized pieces. And oftentimes I find myself over explaining when I'm in that shadow side. And if I'm not aware of it and I don't catch myself, it sends me in a downward spiral, which is why it's really important to practice that awareness. You may also avoid visibility because your nervous system associates it with your nervous system associates it with danger. And so it feels like it's dangerous. This fear could stem from a childhood where you felt like you were too much or not enough, where visibility equaled vulnerability, where praise came only with performance. And healing this far doesn't start with more strategy. It starts with that self-trust, with seeing yourself clearly first. And I'm not bringing this to you to beat anybody down for feeling this way in any way, shape, or form. I'm bringing this to you because I've felt this way. And this has impacted my life in ways that I had no idea it was impacting. It was causing me to be small. It was causing me to hide myself. It was causing me to pretend to be somebody I'm not. And that's why I do this. Because there's nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. It's normal. It's part of our learning process. But because of the way that life unfolded for us, it causes us to feel like there's something wrong with us. And that is so not the case. Healing this fear is really around self-trust. And so when you can trust yourself, you can start just like the gift showed you. You can start to feel more natural. You can start to feel like you're comfortable with who you are, and it doesn't matter what anybody outside of you says. And I'll let you in on a little secret that I'm sure I've spilled before, and I'm sure I'll spill again. What people outside of you think of you has absolutely nothing to do with you. It's the thought that you are creating in your head about what they think about you. That story comes from your story. That story comes from your beliefs. And if you know for a fact that somebody outside of you thinks something about you that you don't like maybe they told somebody, oh, I don't like that person, and whatever it is they don't like about you is something within themselves that they don't like about themselves. It also has nothing to do with you. And it's possible that maybe something happened that caused them to believe something about you. And maybe that little piece of it is true, but that doesn't mean that that's who you are. And that's what this process is about. It's about breaking down your feelings and the things that have happened in your life to a point where you can see the purpose of why they've happened. They're teaching you lessons. You can see the lessons that it's showing you so you can learn and grow from that. Because as you learn and grow, those lessons become different. They become more for the growth and evolution of you as a soul. As you learn those lessons, they're not going to repeat. You're not going to see those repeat patterns as you're healing. You're going to see new patterns emerging and the new you becoming. When you understand your energetic blueprint, you stop trying to fit yourself into somebody else's visibility model and you show up from your own wholeness. You don't need to become someone else to be seen. You need to be more of yourself. You need to be you. So I want to talk a little bit about an affirmation that you can use. And affirmations are really important to sort of rewire and retrain your brain because you've lived like this for so long with these beliefs for so long. It's really difficult to train your brain to step outside of those beliefs. And so I do a lot of subliminal messages. Like at night, I'll listen to positive subliminal messages. But affirmations are also a good way to pull yourself out of this. And so, a good one for anyone who has this fear of being seen is to just say out loud or to yourself, I am safe to be seen as I am. My truth is enough. My presence is powerful. And just keep repeating that. So, if this episode cracked anything open for you, your next step might be exploring your design a little bit more deeply. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about the basic program that I have. The signature program that I have is called Expedition to the Soul, and that's a big, long, like 4-month journey where you start by exploring the fears that you have and unfolding the ways in which energy will show up for you. And then it goes into the next phase where we talk about where energy comes from, what it means, what it says about you, how it's guiding you, what lessons it's supposed to be teaching you. And then from there, we go into the 3-month one-on-one where it's just you and me, and we go over your individual design and we talk about your concerns, your cares, your shadows, your gifts. And we show you how to break free from those shadows and step into those gifts just by understanding who you are. And so, in coming up in my journey to the soul, we are going to explore this exact fear. It's going to go so much deeper than that, but this fear is part of that journey. And we're going to be starting in September. So if any of this interests you, just reach out, send me a DM, let me know, hey, I want to know more, and I'll send you more information on it. just reach out. There's no pressure at all. Even if you wanted to jump on a clarity call and I can tell you all about all of the programs, absolutely no pressure to join. I do this because I know what it feels like to be stuck, and I don't want you to be stuck for as long as I was. I was almost 50 years old before I dug myself out of this hole. And oh my God, if I would have done this just 20 years ago, so I want to support you in any way I can. So if you have any questions, if you're interested, just not sure, what the journey's about, want to know more, whatever, book a clarity call with me, reach out, I'll give you the link. And because your fear of being seen isn't really the truth, it's a wound. It's really important that you address this, because if you continue living life as though this is the truth of who you are, it's going to continue keeping you small. And there's such a much bigger adventure out there for you. Just breaking free to be who you are is such a lightened, freeing feeling. And I want that for you. Your design holds the medicine to free you. And I want to meet you there. So if you have any questions, if you would love to work with me but want to know more, just reach out. Until next time, keep being you, and I hope to see you on the inside. See you soon.